Gentlemen, welcome to part 2 of the date mini-series. My name is Paul Jacobs and today we're going to take a deep dive look at how to set up your date so you know exactly what to do from the moment you meet the girl to the moment the beautiful things end up happening, whatever that may be in your realm. Now, by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how I do it. So I'll show you how I do it and I'll talk you through the mindset that I have with it so you can implement it by yourself. So this is not going to be some sort of fluff talk video. Instead, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do it. So watch the video until the end and you'll know exactly what you need to do. Now, this video is not for you if you are already having amazing dates, if you are already having the dates end in the way you want and girls meet up with you again, if you want them to meet up with you, girls come home with you, if you want them to come home with you, and everything just goes exactly like you want. However, today's video is for you if you are having dates with girls and after the dates, girls tell you that they didn't feel connection, they didn't feel the vibe, they didn't feel a spark ignite in their heart or whatever, anything along those lines. Today's video is for you. Today's video is also for you if you have the feeling that things are going well on dates, but they are just not moving the way you want. They're not ending up at your place, even though that's what you want them to do. And then watch this video and you'll know what you need to change. So before we do this, let's take a step back. What happens with most guys is, and that is something that I talk a lot in my other videos on leading, is that they do not lead the girl in any way. So what happens is, from a girl's perspective, she meets up with you and then everything feels a little bit, like she has to take the lead, or you don't really know what to do and then she has to make the decision for you, or you guys make the decision together. And don't get me wrong, ideally the girl has the feeling of being in control and taking decisions with you, but she wants you to take the decision and take her into your world with you. She wants to join you for an adventure in your world. And that is why you need to lead. You need to show her an amazing experience for the both of you. So the first thing you need to do is change your mindset. And that's something that you need to do in a lot of cases when it comes to dating and women and even personal development in general. And in this case, it means you need to become what we like to call man with a plan. You need to be the guy who has a plan and is willing to push for that plan. But if the plan doesn't happen, or cannot happen in the way it was intended, then you need to have an alternative plan, a plan B, which you can take in that situation. So where does this start? First of all, it starts with the way you set up the date. The way you set up the date, I talked about this a lot in other videos already, so I'm not gonna go in depth here too much, but what you wanna do is you wanna soft close, you wanna suggest something you two can do together, and it should seem like you already have a plan. But you also should show some flexibility in there. So what I like to do is I suggest a general thing we can do, but let's say I suggested something outside and it's raining and she says, oh, but it's gonna be raining. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell her, well, let's just meet up and be spontaneous, right? So I wanna set up the idea of it's just about the two of us and we're gonna figure something out either way. We're gonna have fun either way. Now look, there's a second mindset that is really important for you. You have to understand that when a girl comes out on a date with you, she does not need you to take her on a giant, massive adventure to some adventure park or take her on a giant hike. But what she wants is experience you. So you need to take her into your world. And that means making a plan for something that you can take her along to. And if that is just taking a walk through the city, that is totally fine because it is about you as a person, about your personality, about your vibe, and not as much about the external things that the two of you do. So what does this look like in practice? And I want you, it may sound stupid, but I want you to take out a map of your city, make a cross wherever your address is so you can visualize it, and now plan what the best course of action could be. So for me, that means I set across where my house is, then I take a look at the possible spots where I could ideally meet her. I think about where she's probably going to arrive. So assuming I live in the center, most girls in Europe, they will come by public transport. So I want to pick a place that is on the other side of my house from that public transport place. That will allow us to take a walk, go to some location, and still have the option that on the way back I can invite her to come over to my place if she wants. That's the first step, right? Now, what are you gonna take her to do? First, you're gonna pick her up at that meeting spot, and then you're gonna take her for a walk or go to a place to have a drink with her or sit somewhere outside. But you wanna have a plan, and that plan can and will ideally consist of more than one thing, because most dates will not last 30 minutes, but rather they should last 2, maybe 3 hours. So it makes sense to go back home together, especially if you're new to this. Give it some time. Don't add pressure on your mind that this needs to happen immediately. Give it some time. If something happens after 2 or 3 hours, it's totally fine. Now, what kind of activities can you do on that date? What you don't want to do is an activity where her attention is taken away from you. For example, cinema. Instead, you want to do something where the two of you can vibe and have some fun together. For example, an art exposition where you briefly look at the art, but then you're looking at each other again and having some fun together. It could be just going for a walk, which is actually my favorite. You just walk, you sit somewhere, you have a glass of wine outside if you like to drink wine, and then you walk somewhere else. And ideally, because you are making the plan, you know a couple spots that you can take the girl to. So you meet her at one spot, pick her up at the meetup spot, take her for a walk through a nice place that you like, and go sit somewhere. Stay there, have a glass of wine, get to know each other for 30 minutes. Suggest going somewhere else, walk to another place, and then the next place you go to could be your apartment. Now the question, how do you actually get her to come back home with you? And the trick, it is a magic pill, I'm telling you, is just ask her, just suggest, hey, why don't we just go grab another glass of wine at my place? I have another bottle there. My couch is more comfy than sitting out here. The key here is that you want to give her a reason. And the reason could be it's raining. The reason could be it's more comfortable inside. It's warmer inside. It's cooler inside. There's music inside. Whatever it is, just have a reason. Now, why do you even want to get her to your place? It's because nothing good will ever happen outside in the open where other people are watching. Now, let's actually take a look at how I design my own map, because I want you to create your own date map where you know exactly what you do on which spot, where you're gonna kiss the girl, where you're gonna, ask her to go home with you, all of these things. Let's go take a look on my computer. Now, what I wanna do is show you exactly how I go through that process so you can replicate it for yourself. And I actually want you to do it. I want you to take out a map of your city and make a plan for yourself. Have an alternative plan if that plan doesn't work out for whatever reason. Be a man with a plan. Now, instead of doing it with my city, because otherwise I'll have to show you exactly where my house is, I'm gonna show you where my house used to be, where I grew up. And I'm gonna show you exactly the plan I made there. Now, we are here in the beautiful city of Nuremberg in Germany, and you can see here is where I used to live, around this place. Now, most girls that would meet up with me would arrive by public transport, which is here, which is about a 7-minute walk from my house. There is a square with a beautiful church, and it's basically the main meeting point for people that meet up for dates. So what I would do is I would either meet them by this church, or I would already meet them closer towards my apartment, which is the city square that also has a nice church, a square, and it's also a spot where people typically would meet if they meet in that area. Now, either way, that is here. Now, after picking them up, I would typically suggest doing a first activity. And a lot of the time for me, because I like art expositions and it's in the city, would be suggesting going to the small art exposition place that I know, which typically takes 30 to 45 minutes. The tickets are €4. So I would just pay for her as well because I invited her to go. That would be around this area here. So you can see that whether we're coming from the subway station or from the other meeting point, it's maybe a 5 to 10 minute walk to get there. Now there we spend 30 to 45 minutes and then we come out and we met up for the purpose of going to that art exposition. That was the official reason. Now, don't get me wrong, the real reason, and we both know that, is for the two of us to get to know each other. So the art exposition was just the pretext to make it easier for the two of us to have something to do together. Now, in this art exposition or whatever other activity you take, I was just fooling around a lot, being playful, having fun with her, getting to know her a little bit. And the moment we leave that place, I immediately suggest that we do something else. And a lot of the time, most of the time, that would be walking around for a bit, going for a walk, potentially accidentally walking past the place where we can take some to-go drinks. So usually I would just walk down the hill over this island, and then you can see here there would be a coffee place, right? A place where you can buy drinks. I would get to-go drinks for the two of us. And then we would keep walking through to another famous spot in the city, which is up here. You know, just walking her through the city, which probably is like a 20-minute walk, maybe a little bit more, but it's not too long. And in my mind, I knew that from meeting her, over going to the art exposition, to getting the drinks, to walking to that spot would be about an hour to a half in. So for me, the idea was, at this point would be the best point to make a move. You know, I always talk about making a move, and at some point you have to make a move. So why not plan exactly when would be a good time for you to do it if you haven't done it yet. This way you add some pressure. Yes, that's true, and pressure is never good, but also you know that you've been pussying out if at that point you haven't done it. And the beautiful thing about it, you need to keep that in mind. I've explained this in my other videos. If it doesn't work for whatever reason, your mindset should always be that you expect it to not work, which just allows you to keep going because you didn't plan the date to end here. No. Now, what I would do instead is if I felt that she wasn't ready to go back to my place, I would suggest getting something to eat. Yeah, whatever it is for you, you can think about another activity you can do, go somewhere else, go sit in a park, go walk to a specific spot. It can be any of these things. You just need to have a plan. For me, I would usually meet girls in the late afternoon, so I knew it would be early evening. If she wasn't ready to come back to my place and have a drink there, I knew that at that point I would probably be hungry anyways, so why not go get some food with her? So I would walk back down the hill here and towards my apartment, which has right next to it, literally a 2-minute walk, a place I know that is pretty good for food and it's not expensive. So I would take her there. I love the place. We'd have some food, and once we're done eating, I would typically walk her back towards the subway station, which leads past my apartment. And at that point, I would suggest having another glass of wine at my place. And if she's been reluctant before, then chances are she may still be reluctant. She may bring up objections, which you need to deal with in that situation. If she's scared of going home with you, you did something wrong. If she doesn't want anything to happen, well, just tell her you're gonna take her home, but nothing's gonna happen tonight. You just think it's a good place to have a wine, and you have a good bottle of wine at your place, and you're gonna walk her to the subway station straight after. So that's what I would do. Take her back to my place. If it didn't work, then I walk her back to the subway station. But in most cases, it will work at that point. You've spent enough time with her. You've created a good vibe. You've created a bubble between the two of you. If things are going well and the two of you have chemistry, why would an attractive girl not go home with an attractive man? And if you're not yet an attractive man, then that is something that you need to work about urgently. Urgently. That is just the foundation. Now, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you like that kind of content, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and leave me a comment with questions if you have any.